One of the questions that I get regularly is this: hey Craig, should I buy an R34 GTR or an R35 or something else? Good question. Which is better? I'll talk about this right after this message from my sponsor. Take it away. This video is brought to you by Aura. Have you ever Googled your name? If you have, you were probably shocked to see some of your personal information floating around for the whole world to see. Every once in a while, I Google myself just for fun. I'm always surprised what kind of things are floating around the internet. It's just creepy that these companies have this information on me. So this is what they do. These data brokers are making money hand over fist by selling your info to robocallers, spammers, and in some cases, much worse. This is why I'm talking about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura can identify data brokers who are exposing your information and then submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do that. So let Aura handle all of it for you. Now you can get off of all of those lists. You can try Aura free for 2 weeks using my link here below, aura.com/Craig. Aura does so much more to protect you and your family from online threats that you can't even see. It's really easy to set up, so you don't have to bother downloading several different apps just to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft, insurance, and even more. You get everything at one affordable price. So let Aura do all the hard work of keeping you safe online so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. So, which is better? It depends on what you want. If you're dead set on having the king of JDM cars and you can afford it, buy it. Because if you buy it and you don't like it, you can sell it for what you paid or even more. So there's no risk there right there, right? But you gotta remember you're getting a thoroughbred of a bygone era, a time when the world was right, a time when you had a choice of great Japanese sports cars such as the RX-7, the 3000 GT, the 300 ZX, and the Mark IV Super, followed by an era of modified Japanese sports car everywhere, at car shows, street races, professional races, track days. It was a great time, remember? Those memories are great motivation to buy an R34 GTR right now. I don't need to remind you that the two cars are very different, given that they were designed and built in 2 different decades. You understand that, right? But that was 20 plus years ago. When I talk to these people, usually the conversation moves into other things like what kind of cars I had after my R34 GTR and the cars before I had my R34. And it goes on a little bit and then we start getting serious. As I try to move the conversation forward, usually I get stuck about all my cars that I had before. My orange Super and the 1998 wide body TRD 1,000 horsepower, the Super that I had later, and we talk about that for like about 10 minutes. Why didn't you keep it? Why did you sell it? Sometimes I go back even further. I've gone through about 40 cars in my life, including my movie cars. I won't talk about those again. That was a long time ago, and I went through more cars after that. And I touch upon the other cars that I have, like my 2 Lamborghini Diablos, a 1998 SV, and a 2001 Diablo 6.0, my 996 Porsche Turbo, my 2000 Audi RS4, which was a fantastic car, and a few Mercedes, including a 2006 SL 600. If you're considering an R34 GTR, you should sit down and make a list of other cars that you would consider if the R34 never existed. That'll clean it out, you know. For me, basically, from the time I sold my R34, I was searching for a replacement, and I didn't realize I didn't do it 10 years later. So that's why I was going through all those cars. Fast, not practical, and I went through more than a dozen cars until I found the right fit for me. At that time, it was my Audi RS4, but it was naturally aspirated, so if you wanted to make it faster, you're gonna spend a lot of money on that car, a lot of money. Even my CLK 55 AMG didn't blow my skirt up much. By 2010, I was itching for something faster, and it had to be reliable and soft enough that I can drive it every day. And about that time, the new GTR was out. There was a new GTR, it was now designated the R35. But the problem was the early R35s were having transmission issues. And at the time, If it was out of warranty, it was a $20,000 repair. So I said, no, maybe not right now. So we decided to hold off on that purchase until Nissan can bolster the strength of the transmission. In September of the following year, I was hired to make a video of a track day for several R35 GTRs. None of them broke, no one overheated, and they were fast right out of the box. Nobody broke a transmission, they drove the track, no trailers or anything. And that got me thinking maybe it's gotten better. So I still played it out about for another 2-3 years. And as the years went by, I kept my eye on the fixes for the transmissions. Nissan had beefed up the transmission about 2011. Then in February of 2014, I was driving back home from a friend's house and I passed Fontana Nissan. I saw a dark blue GTR rolling off a car carrier. I rolled into the showroom and I bought my 2015 GTR within 2 hours. And I still have this car today. It's now 10 years on. And out of the 42 cars of my life, this is the best car I've ever had. So let me give you a quick rundown on the R35. Like the Datsun Z cars back in the 1970s, there are several iterations starting in 1969, the 240Z, the 260Z, and the 280Z, and the 280ZX. Well, with the GTRs, it's a little different. For the Nissan R35 GTR, from 2007 until 2010, they were designated CBAs, CBA. These cars made initially about 473 horsepower from the factory. Not shabby, but not what it is today. That was the first generation of R35. For the 2010 model, the horsepower rating had been increased to 485 horsepower. And the car's 6-speed dual clutch transmission got upgrades and different control modules. By that time, it was sorted out. The new TCM, the transmission control module, was designed to optimize clutch engagement for improved drivability and improve vehicle acceleration with the VDC, the vehicle dynamic control. The revised version featured the same engine with the altered mapping, including changed valve timing, larger inlets, and a modified exhaust system. By this time, we were into 2012. At that time, they bumped it up again to 530 horsepower at 6,400 RPM. So it's getting better. The chassis was stiffened by a more rigid front strut bar made of carbon composite. The car got larger front brake rotors, light and stiffer wheels, and revised Dunlop tires, which reduced unsprung about 26 pounds. So they're looking at everything, every piece of the car, every function of the car. Now, having driven the predecessor, the CBA, I thought that car was way too stiff, especially with the run flats. It was terrible. But with the DBA, this was remedy, and the transmission issue was completely solved. Further, the suspension was softer than the CBA. It still had electronic settings for the suspension. So if you wanted more stiffness for track days, you could just flip the button and you're good. So now it's getting a gentleman's GT kind of car, you know what I mean? By the time the 2015 model hit the showroom, Nissan did a lot of freshening up of the car. The taillights were redone. It used to be a bunch of bulbs in a circle, but now it's one LED light, and it looks much better. And on the headlights, they get these lightning bolts, they call them, on the top of the headlight. Everybody buys those lights for their older cars because everybody liked the look. So the front bumper gets a change, the back, all that kind of stuff, all little things like that. Some people like it better, some people didn't. And there were a few changes inside, especially pertaining to the dashboard lighting. Gone was the red. I hated that red backlight. The Speedo was now a nice, cool blue color. The new MFT got more sophisticated in the DBA. And of course, by the time I got serious about buying one of these cars, the aftermarket support was fantastic. You could get all kinds of stuff. And the horsepower in the 2015 was bumped up again to 545 horsepower. Bam! Then I was getting really enthusiastic. So one day I was driving home from my friend's house. I passed Fontana Nissan. I saw a dark blue GTR rolling off a car carrier and rolling into the showroom. So I just pulled in just to kind of walk around the car. I said to myself, I'm just looking. Right after 2.5 hours, I drove it home. So I broke it in for about 3,000 miles and I started modifying the car. I did what everybody does, FBO, full exhaust from Lineage GTC, titanium exhaust system, 1050cc injectors, bigger fuel pumps. The next mods were J-hook front rotors and endless MX72 brake pads all around. And then all that was done, I get the Ecotech, and Benji Lindy, he get the tuning and converted the car to run on E85. which makes about 120 horsepower. That's basically what everybody does. With this setup, you'll make about 625 or to 675 at the wheels. So if you're thinking about buying an R35 GTR, you have to know the trim levels. They've got the premium, which is basic car. Back in 2015, the premium cost about $108,000, while the black edition would have run you $113,000. That's not worth it. The black edition is a trim level of the GTR that features upgrades to both the interior, the exterior, and it includes things like lightweight 20-inch raised forged alloy wheels. They don't look good at all. It has a carbon fiber rear spoiler that's flush with the car, which looks stupid. It had Recaro front sport seats designed for ergonomic support, all that kind of stuff. Brightened interior. There's no changes to the drivetrain. It's the same horsepower. Why would you spend $13,000? You could build it out your way for $13,000, for Christ's sake. Now, if you wanted the track edition trim, it would cost you $17,000 over the base premium. Don't do that, don't do that. So here, today, in October of 2024, prices have come down, but not as much as you would expect. You got to remember, this car is a car that goes 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. There are still exotics that cost twice as much that can't match that number. So that's a good car if that's your jam, right? So I did a little research, a quick search across the interweb. I was finding cars from the mid 50,000s for 2009s and 2010s. Beyond that, the prices go up fast. 2014, 2015, you're gonna pay high 60s, and maybe into the low 80s. But you gotta remember, when the car was new, back in 2009, now they were selling for $80,000. So you get the better version for $80,000. Honestly, I wouldn't touch on 2009 or 2010 unless those cars had had a recent transmission rebuild. Buy a 2012 or 2013 or 2014. That is the best compromise. But if you want a no-excuse car, say model years 2014 to 2016, be prepared to spend over $75,000. These cars are very, very reliable, and I never broke down. How much it is to maintain the car? Well, it's not going to kill you. I've done the math. During the 10 years of my ownership, my annual maintenance cost came out to about $1,700 a year prorated. That includes a new set of tires every 2 years, prorated. I check my brake pads every 3 years. The rest is oil change, transmission, flush, differential fluids. And what are R34s selling for right now? $150,000. They've kind of leveled off, but they're not going down for sure. I watch it every week, every week. Some of them are even going higher. So if you're gonna spend $135,000 on a 24-year-old JDM car, you gotta remember you can get a lot of cars. You can buy certain Porsches, the McLarens, $650 for those prices. King Kong, Godzilla, right? What are you gonna buy? If you got the money, buy it, if you wanna live that life. But if you want a car that you can drive every day, like a Corvette or something like that, or, I mean, it's just a fantastic car, the R35. But I'm not gonna talk you out of an R34. I love my R34. I sold it because I didn't think that car was gonna make me happy for 12 years or something like that. So that was the end of that. That's just my opinion. I hope you like my thoughts on these cars. If you have any question, hit me up on Instagram. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like. See you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.